Emmanuel Navon. Emmanuel, any chance that the deal will hold?
It doesn't look like it. I mean, Macron himself, as you mentioned, didn't sound very optimistic. He said himself that he realizes that it was a commitment from Donald Trump during his electoral campaign to leave the deal, to quit the deal. It doesn't look like Macron was able to convince him to stay in the deal. And also when Macron offered the option of a new deal with Iran, an additional deal that would address the sunset clause, the missile program, and the support for the Shia militia throughout the Middle East, it's not a credible offer because the Iranians already told him they're not interested, and he doesn't have the Chinese and the Russians on board. So if you want to put pressure on the Iranians to negotiate a new deal that would address those issues, you would need the threat of sanctions from the Security Council. But for this, you need the support of the Chinese and the Russians, and I don't see this happening.
Yeah, but the way that Donald Trump tends to behave is he creates a sense of chaos where really it could go in many different directions. So right now we have President Macron saying that Trump doesn't want to stay in the deal, but at the same time, the deadline is May 12th. And with Trump, a lot can happen between now and then.
Yes, but I think also the question is when it comes to what is going to be the decision of Donald Trump, it's also what is his plan B? So that's a question that Emmanuel Macron has been asking the whole way, saying, okay, what's your plan B? If you
is there a plan B?
So that's the question. I don't see anyone at this point except for the use of military force against Iran. But in order to justify the use of military force, you would need a reason for it, with Iran violating the deal when so far they've been more or less keeping the deal. So the only plan B at this point, if there is a plan B, is the use of military force against Iran to destroy its nuclear infrastructures. But President Trump has not explained or has not dispelled so far what would be his plan B if he decides to pull out of the deal. And so this question has not been answered. When Macron said, what is the plan B? This question is still without an answer.
But Iran has a lot more to lose at the end of the day, because ultimately they are getting sanctions relief, and that's beneficial to the country's economy. They want that.
Yes and no, because Rouhani, the president, has been trying to use this money to improve the economic situation in Iran, but the supreme leadership and the military guards of Iran have been using this money to continue and finance all the pro-Iranian militias throughout the Middle East, which is also why you had these rebellions against the regime a few months ago. Also, don't forget that the Iranians have the Russians and the Chinese on their side. So even if the West were to reimpose sanctions, it might be offset by the Chinese and Russians investment and trade deals with Iran. So it's not as simple as that. Yes, Iran has an interest in keeping that deal, which is why they negotiated and signed it in the first place. But they also are aware of the divisions inside the Security Council between the West on the one hand and the Russian and the Chinese on the other.
All right, keep following the story. Thank you. And to